Portland Mayor Keith Wilson's agenda of ending unsheltered homelessness by the end of the year is moving forward, but not everyone is happy with the overall direction of the city and Multnomah County when it comes to solving that problem. Ken Thrasher has decades of experience in the private sector, including 19 years in executive positions at Fred Meyer, including president and CEO. Among many other civic endeavors, he's chair of the Northwest Community Conservancy, representing Portland's Pearl District, and is on the steering committee of the Homeless Solutions Coalition. Ken Thrasher, welcome back to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Glad to be here, Ken. Good to see you.
Well, there's an overnight shelter opening up in the Pearl District on September 2nd. We're just days away from that. What is your objection to that facility?
Well, I think that it's a community objection in that I think people are concerned about the after effects of a nighttime only shelter and what happens when people go out on the streets during the day, because we don't know where those either 40 or 200 or however many are going to be there, where they're going to go. And we don't have a lot of public restrooms in the Pearl. We don't have places that they'll want to go to eat. And so they're going to end up probably going to the grocery stores or other places to do that. And we've just spent a lot of time cleaning up under the I-405, which this site is right next to, a lot of shelters, a lot of camps, and there's been prostitution and other things with the NWCC's work. We've gotten 2,000 people into shelters, answered 3,000 hotline calls, and helped reduce the amount of crime in the Pearl. And we've done that, and now we only have about 30 tents left. This is going to add people from outside the Pearl coming in and repopulating the area with people that are homeless.
Is this just a case of not in my backyard?
No, it's not my backyard. It's trying to do what's right in a high-density neighborhood and making sure that we protect not only the community, but in that area, there are 3 schools, including a brand new school called Bridge School, 2 blocks away, 2 preschools, a bunch of child-serving organizations, including Body Box, 1,100 children within 7 blocks of the 2 sites, including the Blanchet House on 17th and Lovejoy. We're very concerned about the impact on children. You know, this city and county, they did a Bill of Rights for children in 2006 to protect the safety, not have drugs, have safe schools, safe parks, etc. And we're really concerned about the impact of people on the street during the day to preserve those rights.
You mentioned your neighbors in the Pearl District. They've really weighed in on this shelter over the last few months. Here's some of what we heard.
Should have asked us first as a community. It's not like just say, here, we're going to do it. The city didn't say anything.
People are upset, you know, people really take their community very seriously here, and they've been completely cut out of the process.
I mean, I think it's a good thing if they're getting people off the street and putting them somewhere that's safe or safer than where they are. I don't see why it would be a bad thing.
Now, this shelter is, again, slated to open September 2nd, starting with 40 beds, could go up to 200 by the time it's all built out. Apparently, it's too late to stop it since it's happening now. Shouldn't the neighbors be more willing to embrace it and figure out how to coexist?
Well, I think they are doing that because they are required to do that if the shelter opens, which it's going to on September 2nd. But we're going to be diligent in making sure that the promises the city's made are acted on and followed up on, so we don't have the kind of issues that may occurring in our neighborhood.
Well, as I mentioned, you're part of the Homeless Solutions Coalition. Do you have an alternative to the direction that the way the city and the county are moving now?
Absolutely, Ken. You know, I call it the HSC, the Homeless Solutions Coalition. We put together an intake plan, high-touch intake plan. We've given it to the governor, to the county chair, to the mayor, and we said this is the kind of plan you need. And the goal is to get every person off the street into a program where you log them in, give them an identification ID, do an individual recovery plan on each one, and track them through the system and give them the service, all the services they need, whether it's substance abuse, mental health, or other needs, to get them back and to be productive. The way we're doing it now with overnight shelters and then moving them down the street to a day shelter over on Gleason and Broadway, which is kind of one of the new proposals, just doesn't work. We need 24/7 facilities that can do services and wrap around and meet the needs of people. And we need to scale that with organizations like Bybee Lakes, the organizations that run that, and do it right with a high barrier system instead of a low barrier system. So we've given a pretty detailed plan, including the governance, the operations, make it a private-public partnership so it works together with the community, but we haven't heard a lot from it. And the other thing here is the county's absent. What the mayor's trying to do is solve the problem that's a county problem, but the county hasn't stepped up to really solve this problem, which is really their job and where the funds are to really do this correctly.
We just had one of the city councilors, Mitch Green, on, and he actually represents your district.
He does.
In the Pearl District. You've given us an alternative plan. What support is there for your plan? Is this just an idea, or is this something that can actually move forward?
Well, because our coalition is made up of a lot of neighborhood groups, I think instead of dropping a bunch of overnight shelters into communities like is being proposed, our type of a program with the intake center would be much more acceptable and reliable for the needs of these people if we were going to go forward with that. The University of Chicago did a study and said it costs $36,000 a year to keep a person on the street. And when you have 7,400 in the county, that's $266 million a year we're spending. And they said you can save half of that with an intake. That's $133 million.
How would you fund that? Do you think it should be funded through the county?
Well, it should be funded through the state, county, and with some support from the city, which is happening currently. And I think the funding, when you look at all the sources of funding, a lot of that funding is already there.
You were the top executive at Fred Meyer stores for many years. To what extent should the private sector step up to help solve this problem?
Well, the private sector has to step up and help. And I think it's community groups like we have in the Pearl and in the Northwest District. It is nonprofits that can help service some of these needs. And they're already doing that. The problem is we have too many of those groups, too many small organizations. The Hope for Homeless group, they actually look at the productivity both on the cost per client served and also what their outcomes are. We need those kind of metrics and accountabilities, and that's where I think the private sector working with the public sector can really help.
Are you optimistic that we can get to the finish line in terms of solving our homeless problem here?
Well, I think we can, but it takes leadership, and that starts at the state and county level, where a lot of the funds flow through. And so we really need to make sure, especially at the county, that leadership can step up and do their job.
I hear that people are being more vocal about the county's role in solving this issue. What is the basis of your frustration with how Multnomah County is handling homelessness?
Well, I think the problem is there's been a change in leadership, and there's been a lot of other issues with the county, whether it's the deflection center or it's the early childhood issues that are now there. They've got their hands full of a lot of problems, but they're not really stepping back and saying, how are we going to solve this? So I think what we're looking for is the commissioners and the chair to step up, come up with a plan. We've given them a plan we think will work, and let's get forward and get moving on it.
Do you think that anybody will pick up kind of carrying the water on this plan, or is it something that will go away unless you get a real advocate in government?
I think we have a lot of advocacy with the Homeless Solutions Coalition and others. I think we just need to get to the table and make sure this gets done.
Ken Thrasher, thank you very much for being here on Eye on Northwest Politics again.
Thank you, Ken.